Assalamu alaikum viewers. Today I am outside House of Parliament, London. The Palace of Westminster served as a meeting place for both the House of Commons and the House of Lords, the two houses of the Parliament of the United Kingdom, informally known as Houses of Parliament after its occupants. The palace lies on the north bank of River Thames in the city of Westminster in the central London, England. Previously, this Westminster house was used as the royal residence. The first royal palace constructed on this site dated from 11th century, and Westminster became the primary residence of the kings of England until fire destroyed the royal apartments in 1512. After which the nearby Palace of Whitehall was established. The remainder of Westminster continued to serve as the home of Parliament of England, which had met there since the 13th century, and also as the seat of the Royal Courts of Justice based in and around Westminster Hall. The palace is one of the centers of political life in the United Kingdom. Westminster has become a metonym for the UK Parliament and the British government, and the Westminster system of government commemorates the name of the palace. The Elizabeth Tower, in particular, often referred by the name of its main bell, Big Ben, has become an iconic landmark of London and the United Kingdom in general, one of the most popular tourist attractions in the city and an emblem of parliamentary democracy. The Tsar Nicholas of Russia called the new palace a dream in stone. The Palace of Westminster has been a Grade 1 listed building since 1970 and part of a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1987. During the Second World War, the Palace of Westminster was hit by bombs on 14 separate occasions. One bomb fell into Old Palace Yard on 26 September 1940 and severely damaged the south wall of the St. Stephen's Porch. And the west front, the statue of Richard the Lionheart was lifted from its pedestal by the force of the blast, and its upheld sword bent. The worst raid took place in the night of 10-11 May 1941, when the palace took at least 12 hits and 3 people were killed. An incendiary bomb hit the chamber of House of Commons and set it on fire. Another set the roof of Westminster Hall alight. The firefighters could not save both, and the scene was taken, tried to rescue the hall, which was rescued. Following the destruction of Common Chamber, the Lord offered their own debating chamber for the use of Commons for their own sittings. The Queen's robing room was converted into a makeshift chamber. The Common Chamber was rebuilt after the war under the architect Sir Giles Gilbert Scott. And the Palace of Westminster has 3 main towers. Of these, the largest and tallest is Victoria Tower. And the Victoria Tower was the most conspicuous feature of Charles Barry's design for the new Palace of Westminster. At the time of its completion, it was the tallest secular building in the world. At the north, the end of the palace, rises the most famous of the towers, Elizabeth Tower, commonly known as Big Ben. The fame of Elizabeth Tower has surpassed that of the palace itself. The structure has largely become synonymous with Big Ben, the heaviest of the 5 bells it houses. Victoria Tower Garden is a public park along the north bank of the River Thames in London. As its name suggests, it is adjacent to Victoria Tower, the southwestern corner of the Palace of Westminster. The park, which extends southwards from the palace to Lambeth Bridge, sandwiched between Millbank and the river, also forms part of the Thames embankment. Victoria Tower Garden is a great second listed park created in 1864-1870 following the embankment of the Thames. It is in a conservation area, is partly within the UNESCO World Heritage Site of Westminster and is designed and is a designated zone of monument saturation. The gardens were created during 1870s by Joseph Bazalgette and was part of project for the Metropolitan Board of Works to provide London with a modern sewerage system. The Serious Organized Crime and the Police Act 2005 formally made it illegal to hold a protest near the palace or anywhere else within designated area extending up to 1 kilometer from Parliament Square without authorization from the Metropolitan Police. The Act also restricted the operation of loudspeakers in the designated area. These provisions were repealed by the Police Reforms and Social Responsibility, the Act 2011, which replaced them with a total ban on tent and sleeping bags in Parliament Square, as well as a prohibition on the use of loudspeakers in square without permission from the relevant local authority. These statues are burghers of Calais, commemorating an episode during the 100-Year War between England and France. Is probably the best and certainly the most successful of Rhodesian public monuments. The palace contains over 1,100 rooms organized symmetrically around two series of courtyards, and which has a floor area 112,476 square meter. Part of the new palace area is about 8 acres, was reclaimed from the River Thames, which is the setting of its nearly 300-meter long facade called the riverfront. This was the exterior of Houses of Parliament. Luckily, I was invited to visit inside the Parliament, and I will show you in my next video inside of House of Parliament, House of Commons and House of Lords. So please subscribe my channel for new videos.